Hello YouTube, I'm back. I managed to survive the Queensland parliamentary website, but I might have some PTSD. But when you go to the Queensland government website, to find the tabled papers and any record of discussion of anything that you might be interested that they discussed in the parliament, you go to the Hansard, which is the search engine for that. And in the Hansard, I found that the paper that I spoke about in my last video from 2017 from QUT Law has been tabled in the Parliament. However, it was not discussed. But oddly enough, the subject of body corporate legislation reform was discussed back in 2012 in the Parliament. But clearly nothing has happened. So I thought, how is that right? If the government has seen, the Queensland government has seen that we are different from the rest of the states in regards to the body corporate stuff, and that it is, to quote, inequitable for all people with a financial stake in the complex or community, why has nothing been done? So I went to hit up the website of our Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, and what I found on her website was really, really interesting. She has the Queensland Government Housing Strategy 2017 to 2027, and there was an option for me to download a PDF of the strategy, which of course I did, and it was really disappointing because it was not what I was expecting. It was a PowerPoint presentation with nice pictures and very generalised information about the areas that they're working on and that sort of thing. There was no indication of delivery dates or expectations for completion of these projects or whatever. So the report addresses all of the big important stuff when it comes to housing. It talks about homelessness, Indigenous pathways to home ownership, construction and development, job creation, new strategies and protections. So I figured new strategies and protections is the area that we are talking about. This is what I'm interested in. So I thought, okay, she's considering it. So I went to have a look for it in this document. Now, this document is a 20-page document, and legislation reform is mentioned exactly 3 times. On the first time is on page 5, and that's just a very brief, non-committal, yes, we're going to have a look at this. On the second is on page 6, and it is 8 sentences. It gives no actual information on how or why it's going to happen. It basically just restates what the first couple of sentences said, but with more words. And then the third one is on page 14. It has 13 sentences in it, but again, they repeat themselves with more words and different words. So they haven't said anything specific at all. They've said generalised stuff like reviewing current legislation for community and retirement living, reviewing legislation of how the different parties interact with each other, like the government and the RTA and, you know, all of this sort of stuff. But they don't really mention anything of real substance. But what I did notice as I was cruising around her website is that she loves a good hard hat. There are hundreds of pictures of this woman in hard hats. In fact, one of the first pictures you see when you go to her website is her in a hard hat with some construction dudes. So development is what this woman is about. And she says it's because there's so much population growth in Queensland, particularly southeast Queensland, that they need the infrastructure and the housing to accommodate this. But you know what? if her main objective is to get developers to come to our fair state, then the last thing she's going to do is reform our body corporate legislation, because developers like it the way it is. There's more money in it for them. So she's running around in her hard hat, sucking up to these developers, while ordinary Queenslanders are stuck in unfair contracts. Ridiculous, in fact, ridiculously unfair 25-year contracts with increases as much as 5% year on year. And she is allowing this, from what I can see, because she wants the developers to come to the state so she can wear a little hard hat. And all the developers get a big stiffy, I suppose, and they come and they bring their business to Queensland. Well, I don't think that development in the other states has stopped since they reduced their contract terms to 10 years. And I don't think since the legislation reform that the other states have had a halt in their development at all. So I don't see why this subject has been clearly avoided and ignored since 2012, since it was discussed in the Parliament. That's the record. The last time it was discussed is 2012, matter of public record. So since 2012, the Queensland government have ignored this, just ignored it, pretend it's not there. So when you think about this proposal of hers, or whatever you want to call it, she talks about some really big issues. So she's talking about homelessness and Indigenous pathways to owning property and education to help with that, and all of that stuff's fantastic. Development, jobs growth, great. All of that stuff is great, but those are really big things to achieve. But to make changes to legislation that have already been made in other states, that have been proven to be the right thing to do by the Queensland QUT law professors, the Department of Justice issued the paper. So it seems to me that this is a small thing compared to the other items on the agenda. So don't you get the small things done first, because then you're clearing your list, right? They're easy done, get them out of the way, and then you can tackle the big stuff. So Anastasia Palaszczuk, what the hell is going on? What the hell? Now, legislation reform, this is a big mountain for us to tackle at Ripped Off and Pissed Off, but we are going to have a think tank about how we can try to get her attention. But what I am going to do in the meantime is I'm going to share with you guys some stuff that I've learned and that I will be writing to my committee about to see if we can make some immediate changes to our circumstances. And I'm going to go through with you guys what that stuff is and where you can find the information about it. So you can then go, and if you're feeling ripped off and pissed off in your situation, you can go and find out the information that you need to find out to see if you can make a difference to yourself. So the first of those videos will be about community management statements and the modules that they use and how that affects directly exactly what happens on the ground in your complex. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you could make a difference personally on a small level in your complex, stay tuned. If you're interested to see what I'm going to come up with for Anastasia Palaszczuk, stay tuned. If you know people in Queensland that live in strata, share. And I will be back with you soon, and hopefully we can unravel some of the mysteries that go with community management statements and why they are really important, and why it's really important you understand the impact they have on the rest of the management and contracts underneath the management rights. All right, YouTube, you guys stay cool.